Hello, dear friends. Every day, information is released in drips and drops, but it all fits in with what we already knew. Opinion piece. First Contact 2026. Scientists predict the year of first contact. Ohio State University research. Published in the Astrophysical journal. What to expect from the Pentagon's next UFO report? Many geo-engineering projects still underway. 5,000 tons of cosmic dust bombards us every year. Cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin markets crashed on Sunday, April 18. Siberia could host one of the world's largest rare earth deposits. Methanol fuel cells provide more efficiency than pure hydrogen. Spanish Constitutional Court suspends law that opened the door to compulsory inoculation. Let's start. A group of scientists have revealed the possible year of the official and public first contact with beings from other worlds and put it in the year 2026. As reported on the Esoteric Paranormal World website. But I am convinced that there have been many secret contacts for many years as a result of information provided by contactees and whistleblowers of the secret space program. The existence of life on other planets could be proven in 2026 thanks to a new telescope that could detect signatures made by living creatures. Graduate student Caprice Phillips explained that the results of her study show that we can realistically find signs of life on other planets in the next 5 to 10 years. Other civilizations. According to a study published in the scientific journal, the Astrophysical journal, scientists at the University of Nottingham estimate that there are a minimum of 36 intelligent civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy. But research just now from Ohio State University, presented at the April meeting of the American Physical Society, shows that NASA's James Webb Space Telescope could detect a sign of life on other planets in as little as 60 hours. The researchers assumed that Earth is not special. If an Earth-like planet forms in an Earth-like orbit around the Sun-like star, hosting a civilization that develops technologically similar to humans, there would be other Earth-like civilizations in our galaxy. On November 20th, 2017, NASA claimed that extraterrestrial first contact would be less than 20 years away. NASA experts then published a new forecast concerning the appearance of beings from other worlds. They said then that it was quite possible that a signal from an external civilization would be picked up within 20 years. In addition, the scientists talk about the importance of the exploration mission to Jupiter's moon in order to find life in the solar system. First contact. In anthropology, first contact is the first meeting of two cultures or communities with no previous contact with each other, who were unaware of each other's existence. The best known example is the encounter between Spain and the Arawaks, or the first contact between Europe in general and pre-Columbian America in general in 1492. For Anglo-Saxon history, the most prominent example is the encounter of the Australian Aborigines with Europeans in 1788, when the first fleet arrived in Sydney. It is generally the more technologically complex society that is able to travel to new geographic regions to make contact with more isolated and less technologically developed, but perhaps wiser societies. However, some object to the application of such a word to humans, although the term first contact is generally preferred. The fascination with first contact has undergone many transformations since the age of discovery. One of the earliest narratives about contact with the 10 lost tribes of Israel and Prester John, and continues today in a science fiction about extraterrestrial first contact, as well as manifesting itself in contemporary space exploration. For example, the Pioneer probe Blake. First contact is a common science fiction theme of the first encounter between humans and life outside Earth, or of the first encounter of any sentient species with another, given that they are from different planets of natural satellites. The theme allows writers to explore themes such as xenophobia, transcendentalism, and basic linguistics by adapting the anthropological theme of first contact to extraterrestrial cultures. Cultural impact. The cultural impact of possible ET contact is the corpus of changes in science, technology, religion, politics, and terrestrial ecosystems resulting from contact with an external civilization. This concept is closely related to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, which attempts to locate intelligent life rather than to analyze the implication of contact with that life. The potential changes from ET contact could vary greatly in magnitude and type, depending on the level of technological advancement of the external civilization, the degree of benevolence or malevolence, and the level of mutual understanding between it and humankind. Also, influencing the outcome of contact may be the means by which humankind is contacted, whether by electromagnetic radiation, direct physical interaction, artifact, or otherwise. UFO report. What to expect from the Pentagon's next UFO report? The Department of Defense is scheduled to release a report on identified flying objects that defy explanation, according to John Ratcliffe, former Director of Intelligence under the former President Trump, as reported by Virgil Murray. Ratcliffe revealed that military pilots and satellites detected many UFOs that engage in actions that are difficult to explain. He explained that such objects made movements that were impossible with current technology, such as traveling faster than sound without creating a sonic boom. He points out that analysts always try to explain an identified aerial phenomenon, the Pentagon's official term for a UFO, by first verifying whether it is a weather anomaly or a piece of technology developed by enemies. But there are many sightings that defy explanation, which they claim the Pentagon may finally reveal to the public on June 1st. I think, in quotes, I think that information is being compiled and will be released in a way that the people will see it, Ratcliffe said. Excuse me. When asked where the UFOs were sighted, he told host Maria Bartiromo that there are sightings all over the world, many of which remain classified. He went on to state that it would be healthy to get much of the information about UFOs. In fact, Ratcliffe revealed that he wanted to do a report on it before he left office in January. but he was unable to convert his report to a declassified format. Geo-engineering. Many geoengineering projects are still underway, despite experts warning against weather modification, according to Virgilio Marin. Many geoengineering projects are still underway, despite experts warning that tampering with Earth's natural systems would only damage the environment, disrupt food supplies, and create or intensify conflicts between countries. Last December, China announced that it planned to expand its cloud seeding program to cover more than 1.5 times the size of India by 2025. For decades, the communist country had been using military aircraft and anti-aircraft weapons to see clouds with silver iodide and liquid nitrogen, thickening water droplets to the point of falling as rain or snow. The technique had been used mainly locally to reduce drafts or clear the sky before major events such as the 2008 Olympics. But Beijing's planned expansion would increase what is already the world's largest cloud seeding operation by a factor of 5. Microsoft founder Bill Gates and other donors also backed a geoengineering project to dim the sun. In December, it was reported that the researchers behind the project would fly a test balloon over Sweden this year, but the project has been suspended due to opposition from environmentalists. It was to inject calcium carbonate dust into the atmosphere later this year or next. Cambridge University also launched the Climate Repair Center in 2019 to explore new methods of geoengineering in an effort to combat climate change. One idea the center would pursue was to brighten clouds over the Earth's poles to increase their ability to reflect sunlight, which proponents said would reduce temperatures and refreeze the polar ice caps. Australian researchers also used a similar solar engineering technique last year as part of a study aimed at cooling Australia's Great Barrier Reef. They used a prototype turbine to create and spray small droplets of seawater into the air over the reef, which they claim significantly increased the amount of heat reflected back into space. The researchers said they would triple the current size of the technology this year in preparation for a tenfold increase a year later. But experts warned that geoengineering in any form has several dangers that could push societies to the brink of collapse. Why geoengineering is bad? ETC Group, an international environmental justice organization based in Canada, is campaigning to stop geoengineering plans because of their potential adverse impacts on the climate, on the weather. For example, injecting sulfate aerosols into the atmosphere over the Arctic to mimic volcanic clouds could disrupt Asian monsoons and increase droughts, especially in Africa. In turn, this could affect agriculture and jeopardize food and water sources from 2 billion people. A 2017 report by EDC Group and the Heinrich Böll Foundation also shows that if governments gain control of changing the course of damaging storms, the two that direct storms to other countries could be interpreted as acts of war. The ability to manipulate the weather could be weaponized and used as a threat that would likely incite countermeasures serving the same function as nuclear weapons, according to Ribeiro. Canadian author and climate activist Naomi Klein also points out that geoengineering tests would be as dangerous as the actual deployment of the technology. This is because weather modification methods must be applied on a large enough scale to impact the climate and therefore demonstrate their effectiveness. That means that the tests in and of themselves would not be a test, but actual geoengineering of the planet, and would carry great risk before the consequences are still unknown. Meteorites. More than 5,000 tons of cosmic dust from comets and asteroids bombard the Earth every year, according to Virgilio Marin. In a study published April 15th in the journal Earth and Planetary Science Letters, an international team of researchers found that more than 5,000 tons of extraterrestrial dust fall on the planet every year. Small meteorites in the form of interplanetary dust bombard Earth all the time. Some of these particles travel at exceptional speeds and become shooting stars in the process. Some survive the fiery journey throughout the atmosphere and reach the ground to become micrometeorites, which are extraterrestrial rocks the size of a grain of dust that lands on the planet's surface. Now, by scoring Antarctica for micrometeorites, researchers were able to quantify how much interplanetary dust hit Earth on average. The solar system is full of interplanetary dust particles shed from asteroids and comets. Some of these particles are swept into Earth's orbit and plummet toward the planet and at extreme speed. This dust shower occurs every day, but is rarely observed because the particles are only a few tenths or hundredths of a millimeter in size. If these tiny specks of dust reach the ground, it is impossible to distinguish them from normal terrestrial dust. Siberia could host one of the world's largest rare earth deposits. The deposit would be able to reduce China's dependence as the world's monopoly supplier of rare earths. Tomtor, a niobium and rare earth deposit located in northeastern Siberia, is the world's third largest of its kind. Polymetal Mining, a minority stakeholder in the project, has it. Energy. Methanol fuel cells would provide higher efficiency than hydrogen, says Franz Walker. A new analysis shows that methanol fuel cells are more efficient at producing electricity than hydrogen fuel cells. Fuel cells use hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe, to produce clean and efficient electricity to power cars, trucks, buses, and ships, as well as homes and businesses. Hydrogen is considered the cleanest fuel of all, since burning it produces only water. The same is true of the electrochemical process inside fuel cells, where hydrogen and oxygen combine to form water, producing electricity in the process. But hydrogen is also highly flammable. It has a lower ignition energy than gasoline or natural gas, which means it can ignite fairly easily. As such, handling it could be quite dangerous, and one of the biggest challenges facing fuel cell technology has been to develop means of doing so in a consumer-safe manner. Methanol is much more efficient than hydrogen alone. In its review, Energy Industry Review describes the many advantages of methanol as a hydrogen carrier. Not only is this alcohol less flammable than hydrogen it also contains more hydrogen than even liquefied hydrogen. This means that vehicles and facilities can operate much longer using methanol than with an equivalent amount of pure liquefied hydrogen, with fewer safety risks. In addition, the analysis points out that methanol could be produced much more economically than pure liquefied hydrogen. The latter requires expensive energy-intensive electrolysis. At the same time, it's also expensive to use renewable energy from hydrogen production. Reset news. Intelligence sources confirm that Marine Corps General David Berger has assumed the command of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The new command must coordinate with his Canadian counterparts. The shared principles of democracy, rule of law, division of powers, and meritocracy should be the glue that binds North America together. Turkish TV broadcast why Evergreen's ever-given ship blocked the Suez Canal. At the same time, an Evergreen truck blocked China's main highway. They claim it was to stop a long-planned global warming environmental disaster event. Supposedly, the mudslide would have repeatedly threatened to blow up the Three Gorges Dam in China. It would also result in retaliation in the form of blowing up the Canary Island of La Palma in Spain and hitting the US East Coast with a 600 miles per hour, a 100-meter tidal wave, but this is all speculation. A green zone would be a weather event. For example, an unexpected environmental catastrophe related to global warming and the effects of pollution that would trigger a systemic financial crisis with worldwide consequences, according to the Macmillan Dictionary. A black swan would be an unpredictable event that goes beyond what is normally expected of a situation and would have potentially severe consequences. Black swan events are characterized by extreme rarity, severe impact, and widespread insistence. Cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin markets crashed on Sunday, April 18. Bitcoin experiencing a massive sell-off, losing nearly 15% in the last 24 hours. The biggest drop since February. The drop appears to coincide with reports that the Treasury plans to tackle financial institutions for money laundering conducted throughout digital assets. Data website CoinMarketCap cited the blackout in China's Xinjiang region for the fall, which reportedly drives much of the Bitcoin mining, the process by which new Bitcoins are put into circulation. He was denied entry to the Pentagon. Michael Baxter of the Real Raw News has learned. Shortly after meeting with Democratic lawmakers to discuss more restrictive gun control legislation, the president went to Arlington to defend the merits of his planned withdrawal of all military forces from Afghanistan. He also reportedly would have tried to convince military leaders that Iran's decision to enrich plutonium to 60% would not threaten U.S. interests, an anonymous administration source said. Spanish Constitutional Court suspends the Feijóo law that opened the door to compulsory inoculation. The Spanish Constitutional Court has admitted that the appeal filed by the government against a Galician regional healthy law promoted by the president of the Junta, Alberto Núñez Feijóo. As this is As this is an appeal filed by the central executive branch against the regional regulation, the latter is automatically suspended. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friend, and have a good week.